Do you have a wreath on your door this season? Hi, this is Kim with Mom's Creative Moments. Welcome back to my channel. Today we are going to make a quilted wreath and we are turning it into a scrapbook page. I love the way that this turns out. Aside from the fact that it's only a single page layout, and y'all know that I prefer 2-page layouts, I think this is just so fun, and it's rather like a puzzle for you as you put it together. So that part is really fun too, I think. So let's check out my workspace and we'll get started. All right, here's my workspace for today. And as much as I wanted to try to keep this a secret to surprise you, you've already seen the thumbnail, so I'm sure it's not going to be any surprise to you that today we are going to make a wreath. And here's my cute little sample wreath. I know it's kind of hard to see because I used white paper for part of it, but this is our sample wreath. And I got this pattern idea from seeing a bunch of these. They came through my feed on my Facebook page, and I don't have any idea where they came from necessarily. I usually, when I take a screenshot, I try to make sure that if there's a name that I can associate it to and give credit, I will do that. But there either wasn't one or I neglected to be careful as I took this photo. And so I apologize if you are the one who posted this and you should get credit. Maybe you can comment and let me know on in the comments of this video. But these, as we moved around in our military life and spent some time living in Kansas, we discovered that these are called barn stars. Now, if you've ever seen a barn star on the side of a barn, then you know they can be all different patterns, but they are, in my eye, they've always resembled quilt squares. And since we're doing a quilt square series, I just thought maybe it would be fun to take this wreath that's down here and create that for you. Now we're going to use some decorative papers so that everything's not going to be just a solid color like you see on this one. So not your typical barn star, and certainly won't match this one, but this is the inspiration for the pattern that I created here. Okay, so I've chosen 5 papers. I have 5 papers because 2 of them are going to be involved in the base that we're going to create. The other 3 are going to create our patterns. All right, so we're going to go ahead and make our base first. So I'm just going to remove the plaids and put them over here. And we're going to go ahead and use these 2 to create our base. Okay, so I'm going to grab my trimmer here. And the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to gut this piece. Now, this is, you'll notice it's not as bright of a, both of these are shimmer paper. This one is not as bright as you might expect it to be. It is not firecracker red shimmer. This is Mars red shimmer. So if you don't have Mars red shimmer, that's okay. Just find a red shimmer that works for you, that matches, you know, it doesn't have to be red even. Just find a paper that's going to match the colors that you're using in your wreath, and you'll be golden, okay? But I felt like this red really looks nice with the colors of red in the plaids that I'm using, so that's why I'm going with this. It's a little flatter than the firecracker red that we have. And I'm just gutting this to make a frame, so I'm cutting it at 1 inch around the inside to create the outer portion of my frame. If you're not sure how to do this, there are videos on my channel that you can watch that can help you learn how to make a frame just like that. Okay, this is extra, and we can use this to scrapbook on another page completely. So that's why we gut the center of a paper, and that's typically what it's called, gutting the paper, because we take the middle out. All right, now this piece we are going to trim a 1/2 inch off of 2 of the sides. Okay, so we're just going to measure to a 1/2 inch at the beginning of our grid line here, and go ahead and cut that 1/2 inch away, and then we're going to turn it, and we're going to again measure to the beginning of our grid line on the right hand side of the cutting line. I'm using the shoulder of my trimmer down here to keep my paper nice and straight. And we just cut, right? Okay, now we've got our pieces for our base. I'm going to set that up there just for a moment. And I didn't need to flip that over. I know. It's habit. I'm sure I would love to know how many of you do that too. I think I've asked that before, but it's been a little while. Every now and then I catch myself flipping over a piece of cardstock to add my adhesive, and I have to chuckle to myself and just go, that's just silly. Okay, so we're going to, I'm just going to fold that adhesive over because I kind of overshot my piece of paper there. Same thing right there. All right, we're just going to take this gold shimmer and we're going to center it on top of the Mars shimmer, so that we have an even amount on all 4 sides. The best we can do. Right? We'll smooth it out so that all those edges are nicely adhered. And there's our base. Okay, we're going to just set that off to the side for a moment. Now we're going to jump in and cut these. And so I'm trying to remember which ones I decided. I believe these are the 2 main colors we're going to use. And we're going to use the red plaid, the red, green, and black plaid as our main piece. So we need 2 4-inch squares of this plaid. So we're going to cut it at 4 inches. We're going to turn it and we're going to cut it again at 4 inches. And again at 4 inches. Okay, we've got a third one that is 4 inches, but we're going to set that aside. We don't need that one just now. I'm going to stack these 2 together. Okay, and then we're going to cut on the angle. So I'm going to cut opposite corners, upper left corner to lower right corner, or upper right corner to lower left. It doesn't really matter at this point which opposite corners you choose, just that they are opposite. Okay, so we've got those 4 pieces. Then we're going to take our green paper, our green and black plaid, and we're going to cut this one at 2 3/4. So we need 2 squares that are 2 3/4. The thing I love about this layout is it looks fantastic, and you really don't need a lot of paper. You could use some scratch pieces of paper, some scrap pieces of paper if you wanted to, and you could make this page. provided you had the base pages to put it on. Okay. So we're going to take these two that are 2 3/4 square. And again, we're cutting on the diagonal from one corner to the opposite corner. All right, so there's those pieces. Then we're going to take this paper right here and we're going to cut 2 different size squares from this paper. We're going to cut one that is 1 3/8 inch. Which is, so 1 3/8 is not the mark just before half, but the mark just before that. So 2 marks before the half is the 3/8. So 1 3/8, and we are going to cut 2 again that are 1 3/8. All right, then we also are going to cut 2 that are 2 inches. So we're going to take these 2 that are 1 3/8, stack them, and cut them corner to corner. Okay, so there's those guys. We're going to move this guy in. We're going to cut 2 at 2 inches from this one as well. So there's our 2-inch piece. We're going to cut 1 square, 2 squares, stack those 2. Put them on the angle, opposite corners. All right. We have one more series of 2 squares that we need to cut. And I think I have decided, trying to decide. I think I'm going to go with using our Mars Shimmer. We're going to cut 2 that are 2 inches, 2 squares that are 2 inches from our Mars Shimmer. And we're going to stack those. And we're going to cut those opposite corners, just like all the other pieces. If you like triangles, this is a good layout for you. All right, so those are all the pieces that we're going to use today. With the only exception being if you decide that you want to mat your photos, and it's probably a good idea to mat your photos on a layout like this because you are going to want to have some degree of separation between between the design that is your photos and the design that is your am I making any sense at all? I'm sorry, I'm thinking and talking at the same time. You're going to want to have some separation between your design that's on your base and your photo. Okay, so I am just coming back in here and cutting one more of that Mars Shimmer in a 2-inch square, and I'll show you why in just a second here. Because you're going to start, the very first thing you're going to do is you're going to place your square and you're going to place this. I'm going to use some repositionable adhesive because I may want to take this off. I'm expecting to want to take this off. So this is just going to be on here temporarily, okay? I'm going to use, let's just grab a ruler. I happen to have my blue one here handy. I want to find the middle of my paper, okay? So I've got my paper lined up on my graph, on my mat. I've got my center identified. There's my center line right there. I can tell where the center is because the 6-inch mark is not going to be my center line. Hang on just a second. Let's move this over. So the 6-inch mark is my true center. There we go. Okay, so 6 inches is my true center. Okay, and what does this measure? 2 and 13/16, of course. So 1 and 6/16 or 3/8, and then a little farther, and then we've got our center. All right, so you'll line that up. And did you catch that measurement? Let me go over that again. Okay, so you line the point up with your center. And I'm actually going to use another ruler here just to help me out because I think I put that down and it was not in the right place. Okay, so I'm just going to use my zero centering ruler. I'm going to place that right on the 6-inch mark right there. Okay. We discovered that the width between this point and this point is 2 and 15/16. Okay, so 2 and 15/16, which is almost, it's a little farther than 2 3/4. All right, so I'm going to put these points that are opposite each other are going to go right on the same level as the top of my ruler here. And I'm going to divide 2 and 15/16 in half, which gives me 1 and 7/16 plus just a tiny bit. So that's what I'm measuring to. On this side, I can see the 16th mark, and I can go just beyond it and know that that's in the right place. And I can line up my top point of my ruler, or of my, my ruler just shifted. The top point of my square is right on the edge of my ruler, so that's at the 6-inch mark, right? And this one is in the right place over here. Okay, so I'm just going to hold that in place and remove this ruler, push that down and remove that ruler, and that square should be as well centered as I can make it. All right. So that's probably the trickiest thing in this whole layout, is just getting the square perfectly in the center of your layout. Okay. Now I'm going to start with the largest piece I have, which is this piece right here. I'm going to add my repositionable adhesive. Repositionable adhesive is going to be your bestie on this layout. All right, you're going to take it and put the long side towards you, okay? And then you're going to use the left flat side, and you're going to lay that down so that the point is right at the corner of the square that's already on in the center of your layout, okay? Now I'm going to take the other 3 and I'm going to go ahead and add adhesive to all of them, because this will go much faster if you can just go ahead and load up your pieces with their adhesive ahead of time. Okay, so now I'm going to take each one of these, and you can rotate your paper, your base, if you want to, or you can not rotate and just, you know, visually move your eye around. But you're going to do the same, place that same piece in the same way all the way around, okay? Just make sure it's the left side of that big triangle that you are putting right up against the middle of, or right up against the edge of that square. All right? Precision is going to be your friend on this one as well. Okay, so those 4 pieces are now taken care of. Now we're going to go to our next largest square. That's our green. Okay. And now the green one is going to go along the long side here. So you're always lining up this left-hand side. You put the long side towards you. That left-hand side is the piece that you're lining up, okay? So this one's going to fit right in here. It's a little bit like a puzzle. So those of you who enjoy puzzles will have a good time putting this together. And you're going to do that all the way around. It should fit right into that spot. Okay, so right in there, just like that, okay? Now we're going to come back in here with our larger of the 2 green squares. Okay. Now, I know I just said that you're always going to adhere the left side of your triangle, but this is the exception, or the next 2 pieces are the exception. Okay, so now we are adhering the right-hand side. So still the longest piece towards you, the right-hand side now is the piece that we are going to line up. And this one is going to go and be lined up right on the edge of the red piece. So put the point all the way in here. Just like that. Okay. And now we're going to take that smaller of those 2 green triangles. All right. And this one, again, we're with the long side facing me. we are lining up the right-hand side again, and we are lining it up with the green and black triangle. All right, just like that. Okay, and the only thing left to do, aside from adding our photos, is we're going to take these 4 pieces of Mars Shimmer that we have, and these are going to be our corner blockers. Okay, so you can either align them up with the outside corner, or you can align them with the inside corner, whatever makes you happy. These just give the square the illusion of being round, a little more rounded, with so many angles. It's just kind of a nice effect. Okay, now you can remove this center square right here if you want to, or you can leave it there. Let's see if I can get it to come out fairly easy, and then I can show you what it would look like without it there. There we go. Okay, so you can remove the center once it's all put together, and it really looks like a wreath. Perfect and lovely, like a wreath. All right, so you can remove it or you can leave it in. It's up to you. You can add a photo right here in the middle. 2 by 2 is kind of tiny. You could add a photo. Let me grab my. You could add 2 photos right in the middle. Like that. Those are 3 by 4. You could add bigger ones. Let's see. Well, let's see. If you had these 2 kind of like so, you could add another one up here, another one down here, and then you'd have 4, right? You can still see some of that wreath. Depends on how much of the wreath you need to or want to see. You could do 2 photos down here, 2 photos up here. You could do 2 photos down there and 1 photo up here. You could do 1 photo, like a group photo across. Or straight up and down. Lots of different options that you can play with. You could even cut your photos so that they fit inside each one of these larger pieces, and then let those pieces mat your photos. Remember, this was a 4-inch square, so if you had a 3.5 inch photo that you could then cut into a triangle because you only wanted to see like a portion of it, then that would be an option. This one is a 5.5 by 3.5, so a little bit smaller even than that 4x6 that I was playing with just a minute ago. So unfortunately, a lot of these that I'm showing you with the quilt squares are really cool on their own, and it's harder to decide to cover up a portion of the layout with your photos. But I always feel like the photo is the more important part. The paper art is secondary. So it's better, in my mind, for you to use the photos, even though we don't want to, even though, you know, the tendency is to not want to cover up the art. So do what makes you happy, and it'll probably depend on what photos you're putting on this page. But hopefully you can find something that will make your heart happy. You could even put them kind of at a little jaunty angle there. You could take 2 3x4s and put them at a jaunty angle in the corner, kind of like that. Or even right in the middle. Kind of like that. So I was just showing this to Emily, and she said, "Mom, if it's a wreath, it needs berries." So I said, "Berries?" And she said, "Yeah, little gems." So now I'm looking for little gems that we could add on. And I love the sparkle of these kind of gems, but oh gosh, they're being kind of loud upstairs. I love the sparkle of the fake rhinestone kind of gems, but I don't like the height and harshness of them. Does that make sense? I would rather have an acrylic dot, I think. So let me see. Let me see what I can find. Got these we could play with. I've got let's see what I've got in my Christmas box, because it's Christmas. Okay. Let's see. Got these, but those are the rhinestoney kind. Most of the ones in here I think are going to be rhinestoney or pearl like, and the pearl ones are even higher than, look, those are hearts, but they have kind of a flatness to them, which is kind of cool. Let's see if there's anything else. I don't think there's anything else. Oh, there's our Carly. Maggie's big sister in heaven. Okay, let's see. Maybe what we need are these red guys that are shaped like hearts, even though they stick up. Because these are actually too bright anyway. I feel like this red is too bright. This red would be okay, but I only have 3 little guys of that. So let's look at these. And where would we put them so that we can do I think it would kind of determine or depend on where we want our photos to be. That would kind of determine where we would want to put our embellishments. But I think adding these kind of right here in between would be cute. And if you don't have these, that's okay. These were, these came along with, I don't know, one of the holiday collections that I ended up with somewhere along the line. Do those two spots. I think my photos are going to need to be down here, so I'm not going to add any down here just now. But I do have two more, so we could put one kind of in here. And maybe do another one. I don't know. With it? I'll put it with it. There. Okay. And if you wanted to, you could add, if you have some acrylic dots like these that are flatter. Can you see how much flatter those are than these? These pop up quite a bit. I feel like maybe not as much as I'm imagining, but they just feel like they stand off your page. And I really don't want there to be huge bumps in my page, so I think we're gonna go with that. All right, let me know what you think. Until next time, I hope you have many more creative moments, and I hope you're enjoying your holidays. Take care now.